Let's dive into a story that sounds too wild to be true. Harvard, the US State Department, and a courtroom drama that upended thousands of lives overnight. Imagine working your whole life to get into Harvard, only to have the government suddenly slam the door shut without warning. That's what happened when a secret policy threatened to revoke visas for international students if their classes were online. Harvard and MIT, two academic giants, sued the US government to stop this chaos. On the other side, the Department of Homeland Security and State Department playing a high-stakes game with students' futures. The stakes? The dreams of thousands who trusted the American system. This isn't just about visas. It's about trust, broken promises, and the real-world impact of reckless policy. In just one frantic hour, a judge had to step in and ask, should we really destroy lives with zero warning? We'll unpack the secret cables, the panicked calls, and the legal showdown that followed. This is a story about how quickly the rules can change and how fragile stability can be. Sometimes the biggest threats come not from outside, but from a government armed with a bad idea. Buckle up, this is a lesson in chaos. Here's where it gets truly outrageous. Just 1 hour before the Harvard-MIT lawsuit hearing, the State Department sent a secret cable to embassies worldwide. The order stopped issuing visas to students whose schools were fully online, like Harvard. No press release, no warning, just a sudden, global halt. Consular officers in cities like Beijing and Mumbai were told to deny visas, blindsiding students mid-process. Imagine prepping for your visa interview, only to have your application voided by a secret memo. The government tried to make the court case irrelevant by enforcing the rule before the judge could act. It was a move so petty and underhanded it felt like a prank. Except real futures were at stake. This wasn't policy, it was a trap, treating students as pawns in a political game. The State Department tried to win in the shadows, hoping no one would notice until it was too late. The result? Panic, confusion, and a blatant disregard for the legal process. They weren't just changing the rules, they were rigging the game at the last minute, and the world was watching. Let's break down the chaos minute by minute. July 6, 2020. ICE announces that international students at online-only schools can't stay in the US. Outrage erupts. 2 days later, Harvard and MIT sue, calling the rule cruel and illegal. The court hearing is set for July 14, 3 p.m. 1 hour before the hearing, the State Department's secret cable goes out. Consulates ordered to deny visas. News leaks instantly, spreading panic among students worldwide. In India, China, Brazil, students scramble for answers, fearing their dreams are over. No official guidance, just rumors and fear. At 3 p.m., the hearing begins. Harvard and MIT's lawyers know about the secret order, adding urgency. The government's own lawyers are forced to defend a policy already being enforced in secret. The fate of over 1 million students hangs in the balance. It's a race. Can the government make its rule permanent before the judge intervenes? Bureaucratic chaos, legal brinkmanship, and real lives on the line. Then, in a stunning twist, sanity prevailed. The court hearing lasted only minutes. Judge Allison Burroughs announced the government had surrendered. The policy was rescinded completely. The secret cable, the ICE directive, gone in an instant. Relief swept across the globe. Students could stay, study online, and breathe again. The government's lawyers admitted defeat, returning to the pre-crisis status quo. The judge didn't even need to rule. The threat of legal defeat was enough. This was a rare victory for the rule of law and a reminder of the power of an independent judiciary. For students, it was life-changing canceled flights, rescheduled visa appointments, and hope restored. The crisis was averted, but the scars remained. The hearing was an emergency brake on a runaway policy. In a week of fear, this was a moment of triumph. Sometimes the system works, just in time. While institutions battled in court, students lived a nightmare. For them, this wasn't policy, it was personal crisis. Imagine being a student in Lagos, told your US status is invalid because your classes are online. In China, students waiting months for visa appointments saw the door slam shut overnight. Headlines captured the panic. Chinese students face anguish as US says they must leave if classes are all online. Students from India, Brazil, and Europe were left in limbo, frantically emailing universities for answers. Many had signed leases, bought tickets, and invested everything, now all at risk. The emotional toll was severe: anxiety, depression, and a sense of being unwelcome. One Iranian student called it being a political football, lives kicked around for reasons they couldn't understand. The secret order amplified fear, leaving students to rely on rumors. Is the cable real? Does it apply to me? No one knew. They followed the rules, paid tuition, contributed to campus life, and were treated as disposable. the human cost of bureaucratic chaos was immense. Why the secrecy? Why the last-minute rush? One reason: sabotage the lawsuit. By denying visas before the hearing, the government hoped to make the case moot. Another: political pressure to force universities to reopen, using international students as leverage. Or maybe it was just bureaucratic dysfunction. One agency making policy, another blindly enforcing it. The secrecy was a mix of legal gamesmanship, political pressure, and administrative incompetence. They acted in the shadows because they knew their actions couldn't withstand scrutiny. It was a move born of weakness, not strength. Thankfully, this time, it failed. What did we learn? That government policy can change in an instant, upending lives without warning. International students' trust in the U.S. system was shattered. America's reputation as a global education leader took a hit, as other countries welcomed students with open arms. The long-term cost? A potential brain drain, as talent looks elsewhere. The real heroes were the institutions and the courts, proving checks and balances matter. But relying on last-minute lawsuits isn't a sign of a healthy system. The Harvard visa ban is a cautionary tale. Policy isn't just paperwork, it's people's lives. Trust is fragile, and once broken, hard to repair. The government reversed course, but the memory of that chaos lingers. Always be ready for a plot twist, because as we saw, it can happen to anyone.